So, at the height of labor, I was turned away from the hospital and told I was not in labor. And I ended up giving birth in my car, having to deliver my son into my own arms, catch him before he fell. And so, here is that story and how that ended up happening. So first, I got to the hospital, and I'd already reached the 511 rule, which is when you're supposed to go to the hospital if you're pregnant. And so I was like, okay, it's time. This is happening. This was my third kid, and so I kind of already knew what to look for and that this was going to be the day that he was going to be delivered. But while I was there, I was not meeting the criteria that the hospital had set, and they said, "Hey, you know what? I know your contractions are consistent and that you're in pain, but ultimately, you're not progressing fast enough, and so get out of here." Oh my gosh. Listen, I was in the height of labor pains at this point, okay? I'm in excruciating pain, and they're saying, get up, put your clothes on, and walk all the way to your car. And I mean, walking was excruciating at that point. It was horrible. This is not a time you should be walking at, okay? But that is what they said to do. They were pretty callous about it, too. So the nurse told me that I would probably be in labor for another day or two. And I'm sitting there going, I can't take another day or two of this. I'm like almost there. And she's like, yeah, probably another couple days. I'm like, I'm literally going to die if I am going to withstand 2 more days of this, 1 more day of this. I can't, like I'm going to pass out. And so she just wasn't taking me seriously. She didn't think I was in that much pain. She didn't think with everything that she was seeing that I was really in labor. And so I went home because that's what I was told to do. Now, listen. I live like an hour-ish away from any hospital. And so I told her that. I was like, girl, I live far away. This is my third kid. I kind of know what contractions feel like at this point. But she's like, no, get out of here. And so on the way home, I stopped having any space between my contractions. And that is a sign that, hey, you're going to give birth like very soon at this point. And so there are no space between my contractions. But I was still under the impression, going against my own reason, that no, it's going to be another day, maybe two. And so I was freaking out. As soon as we got home, I ran inside and I'm acting like just an absolute psychopath. I lay down on the bed and I go, oh, that was a bad idea. And I pop right back up and then I run into the shower and I try to take a hot shower. And then my body is just forcing me to push. My water hasn't broken at this point. But my body's like, no, it's time. And so at one point, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go with it. I was trying to stop it, And so I go with it, and my water just explodes. Okay, it explodes. And so I am really freaking out at this point because remember, third kid, first two, after my water broke, it was pretty much end game. Like the kids were going to be there less than an hour. And so in the back of my mind, I know this. And so I am running around the house freaking out. And my husband grabs me by the shoulder. He's like, Darby, you have to calm down, because, it's not good when you are in labor to run. Don't do that. If you're in labor, don't run. It's a bad idea. And so we got back into the car, and after my water broke, like I was actually feeling a lot better, and I was like, this is fine. Everything's good. My body's still pushing, like it's forcing me to push. But we called the nurse that had been frankly wrong about everything up until this point, and she's like, oh, it's fine. Come on back, but it's no worries. The reason your body is pushing is just because your baby was a bit low. And so again, going against my own reason, we didn't pull over and we did not call 911. And so we just kept driving a little fast. We were going pretty quick. We just kept driving, and I went with one of the pushes and I felt his head. And that was pretty much it. I screamed at my husband, Joe, pull over. I'm freaking out. And so we pull over, or actually we had not pulled over yet. And I literally had to catch my son, one push after that first one. And I had to catch him before he hit the ground and got hurt, And they're slippery little things. I really had to grab him. And so then my husband looks over at me, and I'd already delivered my son. And so then we're both freaking out. He pulls over. I feel a little more calm at this point because, like, the pain is gone. I'm feeling good. I had smacked my son's back until he, coughed up some stuff and then was able to cry. And so I knew he was okay. And so my husband gets out of the car. It's 1 a.m. in the morning. He gets out of the car and runs into the street as a police officer is turning the corner. He's trying to flag him down. And the police officers see this crazy guy running in the street, waving his arms at them, and they turn around, hop the median, get out of the car, like, hands on their hips, ready to take my husband out. And then he's like, no. Like, my wife, she's in the car. Go help her. She just gave birth to our baby. And so they come over to me, and these poor young men, they were not prepared for this. They come around the corner, and they both just look horrified. They're these young guys that probably have not had children of their own yet. They were very young. And so one of the police officers, he just puts gloves on. He just stands there and stares at me. And he multiple times, like, I could tell he was more nervous than I was. He's like, and what's your name? And just standing there with his gloves like this. And I'm like, dude, what are you going to do? Don't touch me. I don't need your help. And I'm like, okay, so this is what is going to happen. And I explained that after I delivered the baby, I have to deliver the placenta. And so while he's standing there, I have to do that. It was so weird. So weird. Never done anything weirder. And then after that, the fire department showed up, which was amazing. They know what they are doing. They had actually only delivered one other baby in this manner, and this guy's like 25 years of experience. I guess it's actually pretty rare for it to happen. But at that point, everything was done. He handed my husband a scalpel, and he saw through the umbilical cord. Oh my gosh. And so everything ended up fine. And the only thing that happened is... last thing that happened was on our way back to the hospital, they got lost. The ambulance got lost on the way to the hospital. We were like half a mile, but the guy was new and he couldn't figure out where the women's center was. And so, but we made it there eventually. And I felt so amazing have them wheeling me into there with all the nurses who sent me away looking, going, oops. I was like, yeah, I was right. You should have taken me seriously. Oh my gosh. It was a crazy, crazy story. But now I get to tell it all the time. So, all's well that ends well in the end. And after that, I ended up going back to the hospital and getting a medical diagnosis, and they said I probably wouldn't be able to have kids anymore. They just handed me a packet. They didn't really sit down and talk to me about it. And so I was kind of going under the impression that I probably wouldn't be able to do that. And I'm happy to announce that once again they were wrong, and I am 12 weeks pregnant. And I am so happy about that, because even though it didn't go great last time, the delivery didn't go great, I'm a really big believer in not letting fear control you. And so if you have something that is controlling you and holding you back, I really hope that you'll overcome that, because life is full of scary, crazy things. But ultimately, if you don't face them and if you don't overcome them, you're just going to get stuck. And also, something else you can learn from this story is you have to advocate for yourself medically. If somebody is telling you something that is just absolutely going against your common sense, then you need to advocate for yourself, because you're the only one that can do it. And that's the dang truth.